All right, off and running, The Athlete's Edge, episode number 5, powered by PVL. Find us on social at Pure Vita Labs and shop online at pvl.com. And this episode brought to you by brand new EAA Complete. It's an EAA and BCA, and it's complete, and it tastes good. Today, if you've bought a fitness magazine in Canada in the last 25 years, on mine right here.
There you go. Perfect.
It's probably had something to do with this guy, and actually even before Inside Fitness, but we'll call him the editor-in-chief, the owner, the founder, and a big contributor to what we read in terms of fitness and formulating a big fitness culture in this country. And that is Terry Frendo of Inside Fitness Magazine and Digital. How are you, buddy?
And thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It's great to be on the other side here, doing podcasts. Yeah. I've done a couple more, and I enjoy doing it. And I think it's great that you're doing this. Obviously, working with PVL and promoting the brand and yourself and getting to talk to people. I think it's fantastic. Thanks and I love your shirt, by the way. I just noticed that. You can see it right there. I love that shirt.
I take time to think about I think about my guests before.
It's perfect.
Before I come on. Well, it's interesting because this is the Athlete's Edge, and we've had a variety of guests from trainers to world-class athletes and things like that. But our industry and what PVL does, I mean, there's a thirst for knowledge. It's a never-ending series of innovation. There's a fascination. It's an industry driven a lot by vanity. Let's face it. Yeah. And nobody's seen that evolve probably as much as you have. I am a student of the magazine industry. I think it's driven the supplement industries as long as I can remember in the early days, and it almost was magical for me. What's the first magazine you remember reading, Terry Frendo?
Honestly, I'm going to say it was MuscleMag International, and my brother. So back in the day, I was into kind of working out, but my brother was a big guy. He could lift a lot of weights.
Yeah.
And we used to go to MuscleMag had a store on Airport Road.
That's right.
And I remember my brother was the first guy to obviously, he's 2 years older than me. And he was like, hey, you know what? Let's start working out and go get some L-carnitine. And we'd go. And then MuscleMag was the first magazine I ever saw. And I had no idea at this age. I was probably like 16, 17.
Yeah.
One day down the road that I would actually get an opportunity to work there. I didn't even know that. I knew there was a MuscleMag store, but I didn't actually know they published the magazines in Canada. So I was shocked to find out that, a very big American publishing company was located right there in Mississauga. So I applied, got the job, and it was cool because actually, reading the magazines and then being on the other side, it was such an eye-opening experience, especially this is the 90s. This is the late 90s when I started. So
now when you say you kind of pursued and got a job there, was that from a writing standpoint? Did you want to get into writing articles, or was it just working with
not at all
the magazine?
Literally, I was just graduated from college. I took marketing. I actually went to school for systems analyst. I wanted to be a computer programmer, but I really sucked at computer programming. I really sucked at it. I was good at getting other people to help me out and do stuff. Yeah. So then, I got into basically sales, marketing type stuff. And that was the job that I applied for. I actually thought it was just an ad sales job. And then when I showed up, they're like, hey, you're going to be the ad sales manager. And I was 22. So I got into more of the marketing side of it. And then really at that time, the pay wasn't significant at all. I was actually probably making less money than I think was like the male person.
Well, would and sorry to interrupt, but would MuscleMag, I mean, we all, especially us guys that, lift weights and that whole supplement industry would be, of course, aware of, Flex, Ironman, Muscle and Fitness, all those guys from back in the day. But would MuscleMag have been one of the only Canadian publications? Probably was at the time.
Yeah, I mean, technically it was Canadian, but working there, and they had one section called the Canadian Corner by Gary Bartlett, and they would cover some Canadians. So you definitely get more Canadians than your American magazines, but it really wasn't like it was in Mississauga, but the mindset was we were in like Venice, like we were in California, and I just dealt with Americans all the time. I actually didn't even know there was Canadian fitness shows. Like I wasn't even aware in Mississauga that, you know, that it was like Laura Benetti's show and all these were I had no clue. So yeah. But I liked Flex. I mean, back when I started, MuscleMag was second. Like Flex was a big seller. The Muscle and Fitness, obviously. You had Ironman. MD was not really on the radar, and you know, all natural. And I think, you know, anyone who is still into fitness, even the younger people with Inside Fitness, we do have obviously our following, and it's a lifestyle, it's a culture. You know, people who are into it are into it. It's like runners, people who are into cars. You know, we're just very fortunate, especially through these tough times, that, you know, fitness. The gyms are hurting, you know, trainers could be hurting, but people are working out, right? It's crazy how much we see. I think trending on Instagram is fitness. So
yeah, it's funny. It's funny because from you know, I've gotten to get to know you obviously from working on the brand side, and wanting to participate in the magazine, having a voice through ads and things like that. It's interesting to me that, you know, someone said to me, it's funny, supplements are a lot like the golf industry. People will pay an infinite amount of money for that new driver, putter. They'll do the same thing for the next muscle building supplement. But I can't think of another media piece that the ads almost get as much importance or looked forward to from the reader as the content for releasing new information. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I mean, it's like back in the day when we used to get the Toronto Sun and you would read the newspaper to see all the cars and all that. It's a source of information. I think it's one of the best places to get credible information. You know, anything that's online, I mean, it's free. It's thrown out there. There's a lot of BS. People are paying for stuff so they know. And you can't, there's rules and regulations. You can't be doing things and publishing that would be what they do online. Because certainly there's different and we have standards. So, I mean, the ads, yes, it's certainly a part of it. I mean, back in the day, the magazines had almost half of them were filled with ads. We're very conscious with Inside Fitness. We've always provided content. I mean, our page count is still at 164 pages. So, yes, and the way it's designed, I mean, the way I put a magazine together, it's purposely designed in such a fashion where it's easy to read, but then there's also advertising throughout to help promote the products. I just think people who are into fitness want to read and see everything possible. You know, that's at the end of the day, it's just the way I look at it. If you're into it, if you're into anything, if you're into boats, you see anything, it's like the advertising, you're going to want to read it. So I just attribute that to people who have the passion for it.
So when does Terry Frendo, the MuscleMag guy, become in your own mind, or when does the idea start for Terry Frendo, the entrepreneur and builder of the Inside Fitness empire? How does that come about? Because hey, listen, everybody that's in the world or has been an entrepreneur, that's always a big move. But boy, is that ever an interesting evolvement for you coming from MuscleMag? Yeah,
well, you know what, I can tell you, nothing's by accident. Things happen for a reason. I never thought I would be publishing, you know, a big fitness magazine and across the world in different countries. Never. I didn't, when I worked at MuscleMag, if I had that plan, let's just say I was going to work there and go, I'm going to start my own magazine, I would have had a hell of a lot more photos. I have nothing from 8 years. I've got like 2 photos.
You would have stolen some content is what you're saying?
No. I'm talking about me. I would have taken photos with Joe Weeder and Ben Weeder and Lee Priest and all these guys. I just, you know, just building content, you know, for me, it was more the opportunity. I always felt that I had to work for someone, learn about the industry. And then when the opportunity came up, so basically, I was turning 30. I was 29. I wasn't happy. MuscleMag, I became a vice president at 26. So I was very advanced as far as when it comes to work. I had no problem working and putting my time. I traveled. I did everything I needed to do. I had said to my boss, Bob Kennedy, I said, I want more. You know, give me an associate publisher. Let me deal with more stuff, because we had about 5 magazines and all this, you know, and it was big. And he didn't really want to do that at that time. And I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to see, you know, basically what's out there. And I had a company call me up, one of my customers, and they offered me a really, really lucrative job in Arizona. And I didn't know what was going to happen, but I had a feeling that I needed to get out, start a home office, and then see where it goes. Because anyone who wants to start a business, you have to put it in the simplest terms. So let's say you you have a mortgage, or if you live at home with your parents, or whatever your financial situation is, I need to make X amount per month,
Sure.
5,000 a month, 10,000 a month.
Yep.
That's your goal. You know what I mean? And I couldn't plan out. I didn't go and take a large chunk of money and put it in. It was like 5,000 I borrowed and 5,000 I put in. Did a lot of talking and persuasion, but I also backed it up with, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it.
Yeah, you do.
So yeah, I just kind of turned into, you know, building something here and there. And then I had guys like Jeff Steinberg and Rich White say, hey, you should do your own magazine. That's basically how it started. I left MuscleMag, worked for this company. They were falling apart. It was a media brokering company in Arizona, and it was doing very well, but they just liked, you know, to party a lot, let's just say. And yeah, and that's the other side.
There's a lot in our industry, it seems.
Well, there's a lot of distractions. I mean, there's going to be a lot of distractions, and people get caught up in some of the stuff, and they think at the end of the day that there's all these, you know, beautiful people and, you know, partying. And yes, there's aspects of that.
Sure.
But yeah, for me, it was basically an opportunity that came up, and it started off very small. It was a free magazine that was about maybe 60, 80 pages.
It was free, huh? I can't write. I remember the initial logo and the look of it. But so what was the outlet for distribution?
Well, that was the challenge, because I knew, and I didn't know the content. So you asked me earlier, did you go for writing, all that? Listen, I knew everything about advertising, but I didn't know about content. I only knew what Bob told me. So, and I wasn't in on everything. I didn't know about circulation. I mean, literally, I actually looked for a book saying how to start a magazine, and it didn't exist. Like, I couldn't find this book. And, but I just used the internet and made some calls. And then I talked to, so Rich White, who owns Sportica, was like, hey, you know what? You should do this magazine. And I'm like, Rich, I'll work for you, man. Like, no problem. Yeah. He's like, no, you do it. You do it. And I was like, whoa, you think I should do it? And, so after meeting with Barry in Vegas and then talking to Rich, I went down to Sportica, and I remember there was John Moore, and if you remember John,
sure,
Rich, Barry, and then we talked about doing it, and he said basically, you start off, we'll help you get some of the international people, and ProLab was the first company that signed on for a 2-page spread and the first issue, and we printed a lot of magazines and just basically distributed through Sportica for international. There's 2 versions. It was one version that went right to them, and that was sent out to 125 countries. So
and for those that don't know, Sportica is a big international distributor broker in the supplement industry. So they're in touch with retail and things like that. They have a vehicle to move, your type of thing, right? Yeah.
And they had licensed magazines like MuscleMag and all that. So really, kind of like I said, started from one thing, and it was people saying, you should do this. You should do this. But no one actually said, this is how you do it. You just kind of go, okay, you know what?
There's no blueprint here.
Yeah. And at the time I was married, had a kid, and it was not something you do. You know what I mean? It was not something people look at.
I know.
What do you want? So yeah, that was kind of how the ball got rolling. And then from there, it was like one issue to the next. And now we're working on our 90th issue.
Is it up to 90, huh? So
90, yeah.
People, I think you touched on something interesting. Like, I think people see the parties and the fitness girls and the good looking guys and all this stuff. I don't think anybody has the knows what goes into putting a magazine together, and timelines and deadlines and getting the interviews and all the scenes, behind the scenes of what happens. Talk about putting an issue of Inside Fitness together. Like, what has to happen? What is the process? How do you make a decision on a theme? How is Inside Fitness brought to life?
Oh, good question. Definitely there's a lot of people involved. You know what I mean? It's not me doing everything.
Yeah.
I'm the glue in the middle. So yes, when it comes to having a vision, and the hardest part is, okay, thinking about what people want to buy. I'm not just talking shit here and saying, this is all stuff that I like. You know what I mean? Like,
that's a temptation, right? Let's just throw a bunch of stuff.
If you're into UFC, but if you're into UFC, you'll put more content UFC, but is that going to drive sales? Is that what people are going to want to buy?
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of discipline. And when it comes to putting a magazine together, so I have themes, and where it's kind of going more or less is really more themes. So when I started, it was very much seasonal. You would get your news. We actually had like 10 pages of news.
Yeah.
That got sucked.
Yeah, that's right.
So just like anyone who cares about their business, and the reason why I think a lot of magazines probably disappeared is they used a lot of old content. They did a lot of the same shit. And at the time I was 30 something, and my competition, the real competition, was a lot of older men who were not in touch. Publishers were multi millionaires living in mansions. Like, Bob Kennedy had a big mansion, they were not in touch. He was good, but they're not in touch with what's going on.
That's
That's
right.
why I call it Inside Fitness. Now everyone's on the whole behind the scenes, but back then it was like, I knew I wasn't going to give you anything. Training is training, so it was basically, you have to make a lot of phone calls, get experts. We had Dr. Antonio. So yeah, a lot of phone calls, get a lot of people together. And then once you have your formula, from there, you just work on it and improve the formula. So getting, I had the magazine up to 276 pages.
Yeah, man.
And yes, you're right.
There's
a lot of photos. So I had a team. You've got editors. You've got people who do certain things. Now we run pretty lean, but it's because I have a network. I have a system. We also have credibility. The first early issues, it was like, hey, I have this magazine. I got this thing. I used to work for MuscleMag. Can you please write for us? Now it's the opposite. We got people who want to pay us to write and people who want to be in there. So we're very selective. So yeah, it's just like a big school report. That's the easiest way to say it to anyone. I go, this is a school report. I'm not writing it. I'm not writing everything. I'm involved in editing. I have Jillian. I've got people who, I've got a team of graphic designers that put the stuff together and make it look really cool. But you get used to it. But then I will say I have a knack for ideas. I'm very inquisitive.
You're a great idea guy. Yeah.
Well, just like yourself, if you're inquisitive, if you have interest in things, so I'm really interested in how humans perform. So talking about Athlete's Edge, I'm not an athlete, but I'm fascinated with the mindset.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I see myself as an athlete, but my athletic abilities is going to be in business. I'm those days are over for me playing, ball hockey and all that.
Well, you're feeding the athlete, the mind. It's got equal importance. It's in a different way,
Yeah. So, there's a lot of steps involved, but getting everyone to, right now, literally tomorrow we have a deadline. So before I just jump in this podcast, I'm texting people. Hey,
do we owe you anything?
I think we're good there, Ian. But yeah, no, it's. Yeah. But I love it. It's not something you do if this is not a hobby. I've seen some publishers go, "Oh, this is something I'm going to do as a hobby." Yeah, good luck. Anything you do as a hobby is going to be exactly that, a hobby. And I take a lot of pride in quality. That's one thing I really want people. My name is on it. My photo's on it.
Yeah, that's right.
Photos, on your bottle. It's the equivalent of Jim McMahon's photo on his bottles. If he puts something in there that is not good, tastes like shit.
Yep.
People are like, hey, Jim, Ian, Frank,
right.
You guys are making something. It's not. So you're making sure. So that's the difference. So there's a lot of buy content because you're going to get good content.
Yeah.
And we do need obviously support Canadians and businesses. And I think the transparency now, I've never hid that. It's like, we like money. We need to make money. We need to get people to support us, but it supports everyone.
Yeah.
So
it's, one of the things that I've noticed over the years, and, I've seen the magazine grow, the industry was largely driven by magazines, but I think really Inside Fitness was a bit ahead of its time in terms of evolving to the look, the trends in the industry, not holding steadfast to, I need to be, is bodybuilding dead? Is it, because it's not the same image on the front of covers anymore. It's not, you've made changes and adapted to, you have articles about training for athletes and different sports, and, you do lifestyle stuff, you do recipes. I've seen you pivot when the temptation is, it's not broke, don't fix it. And I want to talk about, obviously, you talk about making money and some feedback on sort of what sells and what doesn't. The Hot and Fit 100, that's an entity to itself, and we'll kind of get into that. Yeah. But how have you pivoted and known when to change that image of the lady or the guy on the cover, to add this, to tweak that? What works, what doesn't work, and what's the surprise of it all?
I pride my kid. How's profanity on this? Can we use some curse words?
Fuck yeah.
You know what? I'm a nice guy, but I am a tough motherfucker as far as when it comes to, like I said, quality and digging for things and all that. And man, how many questions you asked there? You said quite a few there. I'm just trying to figure out.
Yeah, I just mean, what the Inside Fitness has pivoted over the years. I think when other magazines sort of got stuck in a rut and like you said,
So
we're recycling content. It's changed.
Well, paying attention to the trend. So being on the ground, you know, we had our own fitness shows. I do talk to a lot of fitness people, trainers. When I'm not talking to, I'm on the phone a lot. I'm on emails, Instagram, just to see what's happening. And I'll tell you, I think one of my secrets to success is I'm not a know-it-all. I'm not a know. I'm smart enough to know that this guy knows what he's talking about. Sure. This guy knows, she knows what she's talking about. When I did a women's magazine, I'll tell you, the first thing I did was I need to get a female who knows exactly what kind of content should go in here, because I'd be a fucking fool.
Yeah.
I think for a second, I know.
Yeah.
And listen, when I worked for Bob Kennedy, he was pretty good. He knew some stuff, but I can tell you right now, the disconnect is just there. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just being on the street, listening to people and being open-minded, but also not listening to everyone. Don't fucking ask someone who doesn't know shit about business to give you business advice. So be careful. You know what I mean? When someone says, "Oh, Ian, you should do this," be very careful with that. I mean, if someone knows what they're doing. So I had mentors. I had a buddy of mine, a good friend of mine, Eli Nasrallah. He used to own Interactive, very good, you know, individual. And what I was always concerned about, or what I was cautious about, was making money doing things, but having an impeccable reputation. You know, because that's what my father instilled in me. The only thing you have is your word. You know, and it was difficult because money is a really, you know, hard one for people to their loyalties and all that. And so yeah, when I just started hustling up, getting people to, you know, give us ideas and just pivoting just became the thing, because I knew I was smart enough to know not to do what you're comfortable with. And I think it's my personality. I like to challenges. You know what I mean? Listen, I don't like certain challenges, but the content part of it and coming up with content, like just the images that go on there, putting a photo of a guy on the cover back in the 90s, even 2000s. If I showed you would laugh because you're like, oh my God, this looks so cheesy. But that's what sold and that's what worked.
At the time. It's like fashion.
Perspective. So I made mistakes. I made lots of mistakes. And I've learned. And then I just took that and yeah, like I said, and I talk to people. I'm not scared. How many calls I make? Hey, what do you think about this? And I think with your customers or with your readers, if you put it out there, people will give you the feedback. And then overall, you're like, oh, we should do more transformations. We should do more things.
So to that end, is there things that you thought, man, I'm going to put this in the magazine or this on the cover, it's going to be a slam dunk. Like people are going to love this. And it's failed and it's been gone the other way too. You thought, I don't know, I'm going to try this. And it's been a runaway success.
You know what? Fortunately, we haven't had like a really bad issue. It was just something that started up and started selling and all that. The biggest successes I've had are after some of the biggest failures. So when I started with, like I said, the magazine, I was giving it out for free. And then I went to GNC and I went to see the president of GNC. And I had this meeting and I was excited because I took this magazine. I said, I'm going to sell this. I want to sell this at GNC for $5. I'll give you 3. I'll keep 2. This is no brainer. Like, and this is guaranteed to sell, man. Like people, they sold magazines.
Yeah, man. Oh, yeah.
And left that meeting and I got turned down. I was like, and I don't know why. I mean, I figured out afterwards there was another magazine involved and, whatever. Politics is politics. And after that, I picked up the phone, called a buddy of mine, Richard. He's like, here's the newsstand guys. So I got that number and then called them and got on. I begged them to take the magazine. So that became a big success for me. So getting it out there and getting on newsstand was a big turn. And then with content, we've actually been pretty good with content. However, I feel there's issues where the covers weren't as strong. Images could have been better. There's always going to be things that you could always, I've got my favorite covers. Sometimes there's a story to everything. I think that's the beauty about it. If you just sat here and picked up every magazine, I have a lot of stories, as you can tell. So
that could be a whole other podcast. Stories from Terry Frendo.
Yeah, but I love what I do, and it's not something, like I said. If money was what drove me or was what drives me exactly, I would not be here. It would be a different ballgame.
It would be.
But I believe in Canadians. I really do believe, and I put my money where my mouth is. Many times on supporting Canadians, athletes, companies. I put my money down. I put hundreds of thousands of dollars down because when I do photo shoots, when I do this stuff, I'm investing in some no-name Canadian person.
That's right.
Getting them the exposure, hopefully do something with it. And I think one of the biggest successes is actually what we sparked. What we sparked, not just money. Millions of dollars were generated, millions and millions. People made life livings off this, families,
Sure.
lots of different models. So, but inspiring people to do better, build a better you. That's our tagline. And that's what I pride myself in. When it doesn't matter how much money you've generated, I don't care what you've done. If at the end of the day, people are like, oh, fuck, that was cool, man. We did something. We did this. We went to this party. I've had people who got married, the first cover couple, they actually got married after, and they had a kid, and like, that's crazy, man. So being a part of people's lives,
that's amazing.
You could have met your girlfriend or your wife at one of my events, or you could have met your best friend or something to that effect. So I like that. To me, that's what life is all about, So
this is almost a brand to itself. And I think it actually gave a vehicle and an opportunity for a lot of people, but tell people what the Hot and Fit 100 is and what that's meant to the issue, to the magazine.
Yeah. Well, I like that. The Hot and Fit. So we're working on,
hey, there it is there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the Hot and Fit was basically an idea that I had where I thought, Maxima did a magazine, Hot 100, and I kind of like that concept, but I'm like, how can we do this, with obviously our slanted spin on it, right? I mean, you were inspired. So I started digging it up, and I just was going to some of the fitness shows, because after a couple of years, I've been around for 15 years, we're working our 12th one. So it wasn't off the get-go. It took a couple of years. And I just had this idea that we needed something to promote, but I didn't want to do it classless. I didn't want it to be like something where, because back then, if we go back in time, there were American Curves, there was magazines I'd worked on it before that were just, they sold a lot, but they just painted women in a light where I just didn't think it was.
There wasn't a lot of others to it. It was just.
I mean, listen, to each his own, man. If you want to show off and do whatever you want to do, that's great. So I just had this idea of putting Canadians out, and I made it Canadian. I'll tell you, that was one of the hardest things, because making it exclusive, and it's still Canadian to this day.
Yep.
And I've had lots of Americans, a lot of international people try to enter, but I'm keeping it Canadian. And
good for you.
Yeah, so we started off with 120 girls, I think, submitted. I lost sleep because we need 100. And the big thing is you need photo rights. I can't just take your photo and put it in the magazine, and I get sued. So we started off with that. The first year was good. We had Elizabeth on there, who was the best ambassador.
Sure, yeah.
She was
Elizabeth Lopez, if you want.
And it's about women's empowerment. It was like, here's someone that, yes, they're sexy. They've worked hard to get this body. But we do a story. We do an interview. We ask them questions. We want to kind of paint more of the picture of who they are. And then having photos in the magazine, it wasn't about ranking necessarily people. It was like, we're just trying to help select some of the best out there in Canada.
Yeah.
So across the country, different body types. People think there's this, obviously there's girls with more muscle. I think it's all very subjective to what looks good.
Sure it is.
And at the end of the day, it's about marketability. People who, magazines are there for a reason. You know what I mean? People want to see the way to look at it is it inspires. So yes, men buy it. They go, wow, these girls are beautiful. But really what I love about it is the women who look through and go, wow, you know what? I know this girl. She goes to my gym. She's badass. She used to be 30 pounds overweight, but now she's good enough to be in a magazine. You know what I mean?
Inspiration.
Yeah. So that's really the key and why it's done well. And I'll tell you, and here's the big difference. A lot of guys have tried to knock it off.
I've noticed. Yeah, you see this all over the place.
All the time. Yep. And you know what? People can see through the bullshit.
It's a credit, right? Imitation's the best form of flattery. And in this case, it's true.
It's not even imitation. It's almost a fucking crime that some of these photographers are setting up model searches. There's no fucking print magazine, really. I mean, they promote this shit. So people see through it. They can tell through, there's value. We're not asking them. We're not asking for money. We're just saying, sign up. We're going to put you out there. We make money off selling magazines, not off the models. So these other guys. So when you kind of go, even if you don't know, you're green. Oh, so you want me to do this? How much is the photo? Oh, you have to use this photo shoot. I have to use this Oh, you should do our training program. Guys, be very well aware. You know what I mean? Like, we are just trying to promote Canadians and promote the best that we can. And it's just worked. And that's why we've been around. A lot of these other competitions come and go because, and it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like they'll use the same photos. They'll try and do the same thing. They're really underhanded in how it is. And yes, it's flattering that people try to copy it. But at the same time, it's to some level where it's like, have some fucking class. Like, don't be someone that it's just, but people, it looks bad on you. So yeah, we just try to keep it very, you know, like I said, promoting. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do, is promote it. If you're good at promotion, if you can do well with it, you know. So yeah.
Well, you know, like I said, we've continued to see things change and adapt and grow. Talk about it. I mean, magazines, books, before there was tablets, before this, it has changed. I mean, there's less slots on the wall for magazines. There is more, you know, the youth of today that are, you know, they go online for more knowledge. So talk about the sort of the emergence of digital, IFM digital, importance of your social media and those types of things, and how you've moved on that. Because I think one of the things, like, again, you've done is pivoted really well. So it's a well-rounded thing. You have the magazine, you have online, you have social.
Well, yeah, thanks. I think a lot of the media companies that have the credibility have a good foundation to launch other platforms. And then with the connections, with the networking, like I said, all kind of ties into one. Digital is more work. There's more stuff that's involved, but it also gives us the opportunity, like I said, doing podcasts and getting out there with people. But like I said, print is challenging at times, but it's the credibility factor, guys. I mean, that's really where I think the value is here is, yes, younger people may not necessarily know, they may not go out to buy magazines, but we've done a very good job of keeping our brand. I'm all about brand building. You have to build your brand. You got to stay relevant. So yeah, I mean, I feel that we have a strong enough brand, regardless of the landscape. If people are into it, they're going to support it. So yeah, I mean, yeah, and then digital was just something that, like I said, it evolved. I'm no digital expert. I always want to do better. I wish there was more of me or more people to do it all. And,
yeah, isn't that always the case, right?
And I think too with the views, it's like I said, you get views, you get that, but the actual like if you're gonna read something, so scrolling through Instagram, I see lots of things, and I like the promotion, but rarely do I stop and read your product. I'm just gonna see, oh, there's a new flavor, cool. With print. And like I said, anything that people buy. So the free thing is cool, but actually someone has the interest. They're going to read this thing. They're going to go through.
They want some information. Yeah. They're paying for some content.
And we've actually had some retailers use the magazine as an education piece for their staff, because this was one of the only magazines that had Canadian content, but Canadian products. So what's here is illegal for sale in Canada, not some fat burner from the States that you can't find at GNC or Popeyes.
Yep. Well, Terry, I think we could put together a whole other podcast. I want to, you know, you've been doing this since 2005 with Inside Fitness. It seems like you still have the same passion and love for it today as you did then. I mean, I've seen you, you know, I've had the benefit of being a friend of yours for all these years, and, you know, I've seen it grow, but you seem still to have equal passion today as you did, you know, back then.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. Obviously, you know, like I said, making the connections and people who are friends, you know, being able to make money and work with people, but having that, the ups and downs, right? I mean, both of us have been around long enough, and that's like, yeah, I appreciate it. You know, it's just having the opportunity to get out there and hopefully someone gets inspired by something that we say today, you know what I mean? And I would love to do more of it and maybe get on there with a couple other people. I would love to be thrown in with the PVL team.
Yeah,
I want to do that. Yeah.
Well, tell us before we go to our final segment here, which I call rapid fire, which brings out a little bit of your personality.
Okay.
Don't dread that. Tell people where they can find the podcast, your social handles, etc.
Yep. So InsideFitnessMag.com is where everything can be found. We're on YouTube, iTunes. I got to get everything up on Spotify.
Yeah.
But basically that's the hub. And then Terry Frendo obviously is my Instagram. Inside_fitness for our Instagram, and where you can find us. But yeah, I would say go to the website, and then typically on our stories we post stuff. So if you want to know, like November 15th is a hot fit photo submission deadline. So yeah, the website, we're adding a lot more content to the website too. So both social and web.
It's all good, my man. Okay, rapid fire to finish a series of questions, one or the other, you choose. And we'll just go from there.
Let's see.
So rapid fire, beer or wine, Terry Frendo?
Wine.
Oh, it's a wine guy. Jordan or LeBron?
Oh, Jordan.
Okay, I give it gets that answer. Pizza or sushi?
Pizza.
Pizza. Salty or sweet?
Sweet.
PlayStation or Xbox?
Fuck, neither, but I would say PlayStation.
You're not a gamer, dude.
No, I used to be, but not now. Long time.
Tupac or Biggie?
Biggie.
Biggie.
I was gonna say Tupac, but Biggie. I'm gonna go with Biggie on that one. I love Biggie, and I like both, but yeah, Biggie.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yeah, it shouldn't be, but I'm gonna go with anything handheld as a sandwich.
All right, Terry Frendo. This has been a real pleasure. Buy Inside Fitness if you want the best. It's a great combination of knowledge and images and education. Terry Frendo is a success and a big contributor to our industry. And if you're an athlete, you'll want to seek it out. Till next time, Terry and our friends, be safe, keep well from your friends at PVL. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.